Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Association Leadership Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Kantor here, another episode of Association Leadership Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today we have the chair of the board of directors for the Association of Technology Management and Applied Engineering, Walt Pozgay. Welcome.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. For folks who aren't familiar, can you share a little bit about ATMAE? How are you serving folks?
Okay, so ATMAE is an organization that goes back to the 1960s. We were actually founded in 1967 as NATE. It was for applied engineering and industrial arts. And in 2008, we changed to the Association of Technology Management and Applied Engineering because we noticed that the applied engineering side of our organization the public didn't know that much about us. So we started to push that side of it a little bit harder. We are a certification organization or an accreditation organization. We accredit technology programs at the universities for undergraduate as well as graduate and doctoral programs. We are certified by the Council of Higher Education Accreditation. So the watchers are being watched. And what we do is we go in and make sure that applied engineering programs and management programs for technical managers are current and up to date and applicable and useful for industry.
So you're working primarily with universities to make sure that their programs are kind of putting out the people doing the right things?
That's correct. Well, we have three major pillars. We have an academic pillar, which is, again, the accreditation side, where we're making sure that the programs are not only high quality, but they are constantly maintaining themselves. It's not a plug and go. They have to have an improvement loop so that they're constantly listening to industry and making sure that their training remains relevant and up to date. We also have a certification process where we provide 8 different certifications for industry. And then we have the industry side, which is kind of the voice of the customer. So we have a lot of industry members that they're not academics, but they speak for their industries and make sure that they're guiding the overall organization in the right direction.
So you're trying to close the loop, and each of the constituents are people that have to kind of pay attention to each other, talk to each other, and communicate what their needs are and how best to serve them?
That's correct. So we're making sure that industry gets the employees they need and that the universities are keeping themselves current with the programs that they're presenting.
Now, are you finding lately more demand for these kind of certifications that maybe bypass some of the universities and folks are just trying to get certified on their own rather than go through the whole college experience?
No, not so much that. What we're finding, however, is that applied engineers are finally coming into their own. A lot of companies who have been very engineering centric, where they feel you have to have a actual engineering degree, are starting to realize that applied engineers have their place, and it's a bigger place than a lot of companies thought. So the people that are actually putting in your assembly lines and the people that are helping maintain your lines and so forth, people with a more practical application sense of the engineering programs, they're starting to become more recognized in the industry. Certification isn't an end around in our case. It's a way of demonstrating that the person has the knowledge that the program was supposed to provide.
So people who are doing engineering or applied engineering work have to have a college degree. Like that's non-negotiable.
Uh, it's it's not non-negotiable, but it's an entry. It's an entry that hasn't been largely recognized by industry for a while. They again, we're looking back at companies that have been around a long time, and they see the engineer as the key technical person. And nothing against engineers, but they have a different responsibility. The applied engineer, it's more about taking that science and taking that technology and putting it to work. And a lot of the more formal engineering programs, they do a great job of preparing engineers for the theoretical side, but not so much for the practical side. And so what our folks do is they come in and they're working engineers, they're quality engineers, they're manufacturing engineers, they're advanced manufacturing engineers, those kinds of roles.
So, but they're the ones that are in the organization, with their sleeves rolled up, actually doing some of the work, where they're testing if those theories are applicable in real life, right?
And they're applying them, and then they're working through the problems that come about when theory actually has to go to work.
Now, and then how do you get that feedback back to the people who are doing the educating?
So one of the requirements of our program is that, or of our accreditation, is that every program that's accredited has to have an industrial support group to feed back that information. They have to have I'm sorry, the word is
there has to be some sort of a feedback loop, right? Where the knowledge kind of that is happening with the boots on the ground are actually kind of getting back to the people who are teaching the next group of people that are going to be doing that kind of work.
That's correct. And so a requirement to get our accreditation is that you have to have an advisory board, and it has to be manned by people who are in industry, and they have to approve any changes to the program. They also recommend changes to the program, so that is constantly being evaluated. We're constantly polling our graduates. We're constantly polling the folks that hire our graduates, and those feedbacks come back to inform the programs. And it's a requirement. It's not a nice to have. In order for you to keep your accreditation, you have to demonstrate that you are asking and that you are also responding to the feedback.
So how do you stay nimble and current with the speed that's occurring in kind of these industries right now, especially, with the advent of all this new technology and artificial intelligence? Like, how do you kind of stay ahead?
And that's the key point of having the advisory boards. The advisory boards function as the voice of the customer to ATMAE, who then goes back to the programs and helps those programs advance their technology and advance their modernness, the modernity. And that's why that's the whole reason of having those advisory boards as a requirement,
right?
So that they can be nimble.
Do they see them as kind of a necessary evil? Like, are they open to it? Like, oh, thank you, where you been all my life? Or is it like, oh, great, I got to make another change, and now I do things?
Oh, no, it's much more the former than the latter. I mean, obviously, it's hard to stay current, but if you don't, and your program becomes irrelevant, it doesn't stay around very long. But the big thing is that the goal is to get our students hired and working. It's not just to provide them with education. It's to provide them with a meaningful path to a career. And so if we aren't producing students that have the skills that our industry is requiring, then we're just wasting time. So it is not considered a necessary evil. It's much more considered a partnership. The advisory boards are often staffed by graduates, so they know the programs, they know the professors. They're feeding back, say, look, this is what I learned, and I didn't really need it. So how about you take this out of the program and put this in instead? And it's this constantly evolving, constantly improving program.
So as the leader or one of the leaders in the organization, how do you kind of keep everybody focused on that objective and being clear on how they have to work together? This, like you said, this isn't a nice to have, this is a must have, and people have to kind of embrace the change. Or is that just the folks that are attracted to engineering and applied engineering, they have that mindset anyway?
It's probably a little bit of both. Our accreditation board is an autonomous board. I have no control over them. They control the accreditation process, and the requirements for accreditation are quite clear. So what we do is when you get your program accredited, it's accredited for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, you go through a reaccreditation process, and it's a site visit, a team of 3 or 4, depending on the size of the program. We will come to your site. You will submit a self-evaluation of your program based on the standards. And then we will visit and make sure that what you said in your self-evaluation is in fact represented in reality. And then that's one of the things we do at our conference. I'm actually at our conference right now. One of the main things that happens at our annual conference is the accreditation board meets and decides yes or no on continuing to accredit your program.
Now, are you finding that young people are attracted to engineering and applied engineering, or is this something that you really have to, work on to get more young people going down this path?
I think they've always been attracted to it to some degree. I think we're actually seeing a higher level of attraction because of the hands-on element and the relevance of the work. Again, I'm not in any way putting down pure engineering, but the work that an engineer does that an engineering technologist graduate can't do is pretty small. And it's very high level science. And the people that we're working with are taking that high level science and putting it to work. And most of the people in our programs have that mindset that they want it to work. They want to go to work and they want to put it to use. And I think we're seeing some growth in our student population. We have a lot of students here at our conference every year, but I think we've got one of the biggest groups of students that we've had in a while this year. And that's a good thing. That's our future.
Now, is there, you mentioned a lot, obviously, about your work with the colleges and universities. Is some of the work kind of trickle down into the high schools, middle schools, so that you can, keep the pipeline filled?
We, as an organization, don't get involved in the high school and middle schools. There are programs out there that do, and we're a fairly small organization. We are growing. But there has been discussion about how we start increasing our reach. We just haven't pursued that yet.
And then the programs are the engineering degrees and the applied engineering degrees. Are there more of those kind of bubbling up in universities, or are they kind of staying the same? Is there growth in more colleges and universities offering a wider variety of engineering and applied engineering degrees?
There tends to be a growth of schools that already have engineering programs investigating having applied engineering programs.
So this is a new area it's obviously not a new area, but it's an area where now colleges are saying, hey, maybe we should be kind of investing in this.
There are there are an increasing number of universities who have already got in engineering programs in place that are recognizing the industrial need for more practical skill set, and so they are investigating these having these applied engineering programs.
And then these applied engineering programs, they can't just be taught by the person that's doing the engineering. You need a different kind of professional in order to execute the applied?
No, it's more like having a slightly different curriculum.
Oh, so it's a curriculum change, not
it's a curriculum change, right? So we still have engineering classes, but we also have management classes. We also have practical classes. For instance, one of our universities, the students, when they graduate from their program, they have a FANUC certification, which means they can program a FANUC robot. And to the point where FANUC will actually give them a certification. So it's more of, they don't spend the time in the higher level maths and the higher level sciences applying the theory. It's more about spending time in a fluid power class and spending time in a mechanics class and spending time in a PLC class. And so it's not that they can't be taught by the same instructors. It's that they tend not to be, because it's instructors with different skill sets.
But does it require then the university to then invest in labs and have stuff there?
Absolutely. And that's actually part of the accreditation requirement, is that they not only have labs, but the labs be relevant and kept
current,
functioning,
right,
and kept current and kept modern. Yes.
And then is that something you help them with, or you just tell them this is a requirement so they have to figure it out? Or do you have maybe partners with some of the manufacturers of these equipment so they can, either donate or, offer it to them so they can practice on the stuff that they're going to end up working on?
That's done at the college level and at the university level and the program level. That's not something ATMAE specifically does. But again, that's a function of having an advisory board, is that this advisory board is going to be made up of the people that are close to your university, close to your program. They're the people that are hiring your graduates, and they have a vested interest in making sure that those graduates are the kinds of people they want to hire. And then they therefore get involved with things like providing equipment and so forth.
Right, because it's everybody's best interest to give the student the most current equipment, and it helps the student learn on the equipment they're going to end up working on when they graduate. So it's
That's
like
exactly
a win-win
right. Yes.
all the way around. So, so you're kind of making recommendations or giving them guidelines to follow, and then the university then in their local market kind of partners with the people that are appropriate in the local market.
That's exactly right. We provide the guidelines, we provide the rules essentially, and put the guardrails up, and then we let the universities do the work that they need to do to meet those requirements and maintain their accreditation.
Well, your work is so important. Is there a story you can share that maybe illustrates how, when a university or like the importance of kind of, I don't want to say this is a pivot, but it's definitely a kind of a broadening of how the university is thinking a little bit about leaning more into the applied side of things. Can you talk about how that has made an impact when they did that? Like, did they graduate more people or more opportunities, or the industry's happier? They got, more of the workers filled?
I guess a good way to answer that is, I'm not going to use the company's name, but there is a company with whom I'm familiar that has historically not even interviewed applied engineers. And they want strictly certified engineers from certified engineering programs. And last year, this company made a pivot and actually started actively seeking out applied engineering graduates. and opening up their recruiting, and they have found it's been a much more successful recruiting tool, and they've actually developed an applied engineering development program for their company. So not only are they shifting from we don't hire these people to yes, we'll interview them, they're actively seeking them now and bringing them into the jobs that that typically had been held by formal engineers, freeing up the formal engineers to do the more theoretical and higher level work that they're trained to do.
Now, is that one of kind of the things on your plate or leadership's plate in terms of explaining to industry why it might be a good idea to kind of open up your mind to applied engineering degree folks? And then also you have to kind of convince the universities to, kind of have the degree so that they can get the training from the industry so that more people in the industry. So it's like kind of a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a chicken and egg. What ATMAE is working very hard to do is to get people who typically don't hire applied engineers to understand their value. And like I said, we've been around since the late 60s. And we have companies that have had partnerships with us for years and years. And we have other companies that still haven't really heard about what we do. So we have been really focused on getting our name out there. We've been working with other organizations, tag teaming. They come to our conference, we go to theirs, that kind of thing, to get the word out. But largely what's happening is industry is starting to push for it. Industry is starting to push. They're having to push to the universities and say, hey, we aren't getting the people we need. And these are the people we need. And it so happens that the people they need are the people that we serve.
But so now are you all on the same page that you can work together and, kind of have some more synergy when it comes to this? Because it seems like they need you to get the curriculum certified, but they, if they are not aware or they're not seeing the impact, then they might be hesitant or slow to ask for folks with that type of a degree. So, I mean, to me, both sides of the equation have to be dealt with, but
Right.
I'm just trying to get like what do you need more of? So you need more people in industry to say, hey, we need more applied engineers, so go make them for me. And then if you think that if by doing that, then the universities will go to you and say, hey, help us, graduate more applied engineers.
Yeah. That's a really complex question. Really, it's getting the applied engineering programs that are out there to become accredited, because there are applied engineering programs out there that are not accredited at all or accredited by us. They could be accredited elsewhere, but it's industry recognizing the value of accreditation and the value of certification is probably it's very important, and it's some of the more important work that we're doing is to sell that to the industry, to get them to understand that. So industry is going to hire what they need to hire.
Right. Yeah. They got a problem to solve.
Right. And so that's almost a natural feedback loop. If you have a program that isn't graduating people that are getting jobs, then you're going to find that out. What we provide is the mechanism by which you can track your program to make sure that it is meeting the requirements. That's the biggest benefit of having accreditation through us, is by meeting the accreditation standards, you have in place a process of ensuring that your program remains relevant and that your graduates are going into the kinds of jobs that they want to do and that the industry needs to have filled.
And then a student that's interested in this, if they're given a choice between an accredited university and a non-accredited, I'm sure they're going to err on the side of accredited.
Well, we would encourage them to, yes, because a non-accredited program means that the university is deciding what that needs to be, and maybe they're right and maybe they're not. Whereas if you're accredited, particularly through ATMAE, then you have been through that program has been through a vetting process, and we know that it is successful, and we are ensuring that it remains successful as long as the university continues to follow the requirements of the accreditation.
So, what do you need more of? So you need more conversations with folks in the industry, and you need more conversations with universities. Those are the two kind of big buckets for you.
But right. We need more conversations between universities and industry. And we facilitate those. Like I said, we're at our conference right now, so we have about 300 educators, students, and industry professionals that are all mingling together downstairs, listening to talks and listening to paper presentations and watching student robotics competitions and those kinds of things. So we have that we facilitate that. But what we're really trying to get industry to understand is the value of saying we want our graduates to come from an accredited program. And we think the ATMAE accreditation process produces a good product.
So if somebody wants to learn more about ATMAE, what's the website? What's the best way to connect with you or somebody on the team?
You can go to atmae.org. There is a About Us tab that shows all of the members of the board of directors, and all of us have emails posted right there. You can reach out to us directly. You can reach out to our office, and we have some folks that can put you in touch with whoever you need to be put in touch with. So yeah, we're out there, and we're very interested in making these connections and getting to know people.
Well, Walt, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is Lee Kantor. We'll see you all next time on Association Leadership Radio.